It's Cade, we're back, and today we're talking big books. Which ones I want to read, and also I'll talk a little bit about one that I've already read and my kind of experience with that. I haven't been reading for like a super long time. I kind of fell out of love with reading in high school, and I've just recently come back into it pretty much. But I'm already kind of wanting to challenge myself a little bit more and get into some big books. Generally, I read a lot more small paperback kind of things, and recently I have been getting the itch to pick up some bigger books and really dig into some more challenging ones. So let's talk about some that I've already bought and I'm prepared to read, and then maybe a few that I haven't bought yet but I kind of have my eye on and might read. The rest of these will be in no particular order, but this is the one I'm most interested in right now, and that is the Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And I have no idea if I just pronounced that right. I could have totally butchered it for all I know. My favorite author of all time, as of right now, it's always subject to change. I've read Crime and Punishment, which is a pretty big novel, but if you compare Crime and Punishment right here with this, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell on camera, but it's a world of difference. Crime and Punishment is only 656 pages, whereas Brothers Karamazov is 985, and that's excluding all of the footnotes and everything that are in the back of the book. So this book takes place after the murder of the landowner Fyodor Pavlovich Karamazov, and then it kind of follows the trial of his eldest son Dmitri, I believe, and he's kind of been accused of this crime, and I don't know if he did it or not. I haven't heard too much about this book. I love Dostoevsky, and I've, for that reason, stayed clear of watching any videos about him, basically, or any of his work beside what I've already read. I know there are 3 brothers in this book, which is kind of funny. I'm wondering if I'll relate to it a lot because I have 2 brothers, so there's 3 brothers in my family. So we'll see if this is akin to our lives at all. Probably not at all. I know it tackles issues of faith with some of the brothers and a bunch of really complex issues and topics and everything. So I'm kind of dreading, but also really excited to read this book. Crime and Punishment, which I read before, is a hard book to read, but very rewarding once you're done with it, and I would assume that this is the same way. My biggest problem and fear with that book isn't necessarily the length, because I think I can get through that all right. It's the Russian. Every time I've read one of Fyodor's books, it is so hard to remember all the characters, because the characters' names are always in Russian, and it's always okay, wait, Avlovlich, Lavlivlich. The Russian is just so similar to me that it's very hard to remember all the characters in his books. Next up, I'm going to go with another one of my favorite authors, John Steinbeck's East of Eden. This book follows the Trask family, and there are 2 brothers specifically in this family, Adam and Charles. And later on in the story, we kind of follow Adam's children, Cal and Aaron. One of these children is very kind of idealistic and good, and the other child is more rebellious. So their lives are just quite different. And from what I've heard, it's kind of a parallel to the Cain and Abel story in the Bible. These brothers have kind of a rivalry. There is another family, the Hamilton family, I believe. And that's all I really know about this one. Some of these books I know more about, but these first 2 I really have tried to kind of stay clear of because I don't want any spoilers, because these are 2 of my favorite authors of all time. I really just love to go into their books as fresh as I can, not knowing anything. This specific book comes in at 601 pages. Not the biggest one that I want to read, but definitely still a pretty tough challenge, I think. But yeah, once again, I'm just a huge fan of John Steinbeck, and I want to read more of his work. I haven't read that much, but what I have read, I've really enjoyed. And I really like his perspective. I really, really love his kind of poetic language that he uses in a lot of his stuff. It's just really great. And I think I could probably read that book a little faster than some of the other ones on this list because it's not a translation of anything. Steinbeck doesn't have a particularly difficult style to follow unless he really changed it up in that book, and I don't know about that. Next one, I'm pretty positive you've all probably heard of. If you haven't, it is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. Larry McMurtry. I'm awful with names. I'm never going to get them exactly right. This is probably the best known Western book of all time, I would say. It is a Western epic. It takes place on a cattle drive from Montana to Texas. Actually, I think it's the other way around. I think it's Texas to Montana. And I think the slip inside describes best kind of why I want to read this. It is a love story, an adventure, and an American epic. I'm a huge fan of like the Western genre in general. Most of my favorite movies of all time are Westerns or neo-Westerns. And I don't think I've read a single like pure Western novel. I've read some Cormac McCarthy, but I don't know that I would say that that's like pure Western. It definitely has some other influences and style to it. I actually went out and bought this hardcover copy today, and it is 843 pages. This book is just huge. A brick of a book. It's heavy. My arm is getting tired just holding it up for the video. I really don't have too much to say about this. I'm sure most of you have heard about it. It's a American classic. So let's just get right into the next one. And this is the last one that I own, actually. This is The Count of Monte Cristo. Another classic, famous book. And this might be the one that I am the most intimidated by. Brothers Karamazov, I think, is pretty intimidating, but I know the author and I know the style. This, I've never read anything by Dumas. I'm not totally sure of the style. I've seen a few videos about it, but that was a long time ago. I bought this book about a year ago to read, and every time I've picked it up and kind of thumbed through it real quick and been like, do I want to read this? I look at the page count. I see 1,276. And then I decide this is going to go back on the shelf and I'm not going to touch this for a while. I'm so scared of this book. I'm just being totally honest. I'm terrified to actually start this because I feel like once I start it, I'm never going to finish it. Look at how huge this is. And this is like a smaller Penguin Classics edition. I'm just intimidated, scared, and I don't know if I have the guts to commit to it. That's really the biggest problem with this. I don't have the guts to commit because I know the way I read, if I'm not interested in this, it will take me a whole year to finish or maybe more. And I don't want to commit and get 200 pages into this and then realize, oh, I really don't like the story. It's not for me, and have to put it down after putting in so much time. In this book, a man is thrown into a prison where he learns about the tale of a great hoard of treasure that is hidden on the Isle of Monte Cristo. He kind of becomes determined to escape and find this treasure and also destroy the men who put him in prison in the first place. Back of the book again has kind of a perfect little summary of why I want to read this. It is an epic tale of suffering and retribution. I've heard so much about this book. I've heard so much praise for it. I'm just scared. That's all I can really say about this. I'm terrified, I'm scared, and I don't know if I have the guts to do it. That's all the physical ones that I own. I'm going to talk about like 2 or 3 real quick that I don't own yet, but I might buy and I might read. I'll go over these really quick because I'm not even sure if I'm going to read them. The first one is going to be Moby Dick. I don't have this one yet because I want this specific copy in hardcover. I just saw it online one day and I was like, man, I really like that. And I feel like a book as classic as Moby Dick, you really want to have in a hardcover a really good edition that you're going to be able to kind of pass down. The only thing about Moby Dick that I'm not sure about is I've heard that there is a lot of kind of boring passages to the book where it's just like 60 pages of descriptions of like the whaling industry or something. And that sounds like something that I would really get bored of. Next one is one that I'm not as interested in, but I've been recommended a whole lot, so I kind of feel almost obligated to try it out at some point. That's Stephen King's The Stand. I'm not a huge fan of Stephen King in general. I've only read Pet Sematary, and I really did not like that one. So maybe there's a shot that if I read something else by him, I'll really like it. But that book put kind of a bad taste in my mouth, so I just haven't made the attempt to try it since. And The Stand is literally one of the biggest books I've ever seen. Like, every time I see it on shelves, I'm like, I don't know how I would get through that. Another one that I'm not totally sure about, I kind of want to try it and I kind of don't, is War and Peace. This is one that I've heard great things and bad things about. I know everyone kind of raves about it, but on some of the like literature discussions I've seen, a lot of people have said it's kind of a big nothing burger. I don't know if that's true. I don't know a lot about that book at all, but that's what I've heard from some people. I know that that's like a classic, so I feel like just saying that people have said that is going to get me in trouble. Next up, Underworld by Don DeLillo. I just finished White Noise recently by Don DeLillo, and I really liked it. He has more of a postmodern style, which I enjoy, but it's not like my favorite kind of genre or style that there is. Underworld, I've heard a little bit about. It sounds very interesting. It's another one of those books that's just so intimidating and big. And with the postmodern style like Don DeLillo has, sometimes I have a hard time following along because it's not as rigidly structured as a more traditional style. So I could see that being a big problem for me if I decide to read Underworld. So those are just some of the ones that I'm a little bit interested in, but I haven't picked up yet, but I might end up reading them. Now, I don't have a ton of experience with huge books, but what I have read is Infinite Jest. This book is 1,079 pages long, and this took me 6 months to read. To be fair, I think like 2 of those months, I just didn't read any of it because I wasn't interested in it, and I thought I might DNF it. But then when I picked it back up and actually got more near page 600, I was like, oh, this is really good. I'm glad I didn't DNF this. But this book in general has also kind of given me anxiety about starting another big book because it took me so long to finish, and I'm so worried about getting halfway through and DNFing something because I just don't enjoy it. But I know I have the wherewithal to get through a big book. I'm just anxious about it in general. I have a whole video with my brother about our experience reading Infinite Jest. I don't know if it holds up super well. It was one of the first videos we made. If you want, you could go check that out though. So that's it, guys. Those are the giant books that I want to read and some of my thoughts just on them in general and kind of my fears, I guess. If you have any books like this, any of these books, any other huge books that you have read and you want to recommend to me, or you want to tell me to steer clear of, tell me in the comments below. I'm always interested. I love talking books and hearing people talk about books. I don't have enough people to talk books with. So if you want to tell me something about a book that you've read that's huge and maybe see if I'm interested in reading it or something, let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. Just kind of a little fun video. I just wanted to talk about some of the big books I was scared to read. Little therapy almost, getting this off my chest, explaining that I'm actually scared to do this. It's kind of made me a little more motivated to pick these up and read them. Maybe like a year from now when I've actually read all of them, or like 2 years from now, I'll do a video going over all of these and talking about all the big books that I've actually read. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's going to be all for today. Really appreciate it. See you later.